There is a moment that happens in your home almost every single day, and you have probably never once stopped to really look at it. You come through the door after hours away. Your dog reaches you, tail going, the whole body moving, that sound they make that sits somewhere between a whine and a song. And for just a second or two, before you put your bag down, before you say a single word, your dog looks up at you. Right there, in that look, something is happening that scientists have only recently been able to measure. Your dog's eyes are changing, not in a way you would ever catch with a glance, but underneath, in the thin film of moisture that coats their eyes, something shifts the instant they see you again. For a long time, we assumed this was just a story dog owners tell themselves. Sentiment, wishful thinking. And then a team of researchers in Japan decided to stop assuming and actually test it. What they found quietly rewrote something we thought we understood about the line between humans and every other animal on Earth. The assumption we all made. Here is what almost everyone believed, including most scientists, right up until a few years ago. Tears that come from feeling something. Tears of relief, of joy, of being overwhelmed. Those were supposed to be a human thing, ours alone. Plenty of animals produce tears, of course. Every animal with eyes needs a basic layer of moisture to protect them, to wash out dust, to keep the surface from drying. That is just plumbing. It is maintenance. But emotional tearing, the kind that wells up because of what you feel rather than what is in your eye, that was thought to be one of the last things that made us different. No other creature was believed to do it. So when you looked at your dog by the door and told yourself their eyes looked a little glassy, a little bright, the science of the day would have gently told you that you were projecting, that you were seeing your own feelings reflected back in an animal that could not possibly share them in that way. It turns out the science of the day was incomplete, and the person who noticed the gap was not staring at a machine in a lab. He was at home, looking at his own dog. The moment that started it. The researcher's name is Takefumi Kikusui, and he studies the bond between dogs and people at Azabu University in Japan. The idea did not arrive as a grand theory. It arrived as an ordinary domestic moment, the kind you have probably lived 100 times. One of his dogs had recently had puppies. He was watching her nurse them, and as he looked at her face, he noticed her eyes had become teary. Something about the tenderness of that scene, a mother caring for her young, seemed to be showing up in her eyes, and the thought that struck him was simple and a little bit radical. What if the closeness of that moment, the flood of warmth that comes with caring and connection, was actually causing the tears? If a feeling could raise the tear level in a nursing mother dog, then maybe the same thing happened in another moment loaded with the same chemistry. The moment a dog is reunited with the human they are bonded to. That was the question. And unlike most feelings, tears are something you can actually measure. How you measure a feeling. To test it, the team needed a number. Feelings are slippery, but tear volume is not. There is a small, standard strip of paper used in eye clinics for both people and animals, tucked gently against the lower eyelid for a short time to see how much moisture collects on it. The more tears, the further the wetness travels along the strip. It is simple, it does not hurt, and it turns something invisible into millimeters you can write down. So the researchers did the everyday thing on purpose. They measured each dog's normal, baseline tear level, while the dog was calmly at home with its owner. That was the control. That was ordinary. Then the owners left and stayed away for around 5 to 6 hours, long enough to matter to a dog, the length of a normal working day, the length of an absence your own dog knows very well. And then the reunion. The owner walked back in, dog and human greeted each other the way they always do, and in the minutes right after that hello, the team measured the tears again. Baseline, separation, reunion. Before and after. Now they could compare. What they found. When owner and dog came back together, the tear volume went up, measurably. The reunion itself, the simple fact of being with their person again, pushed the level of moisture in the dog's eyes higher than it had been at rest. The feeling was leaving a physical trace, but a single result like that always invites a harder question. Maybe dogs just tear up whenever anyone shows up. Maybe it is the excitement of a face at the door, any face, and has nothing to do with who that face belongs to. The team had thought of that too. So they ran the same reunion, but this time with a familiar person who was not the dog's own owner, someone the dog knew, but was not bonded to in the same way. The tears did not rise the same way. It was the reunion with their own person, the one they had chosen and attached to, that moved the needle, not the arrival of just anybody. That single comparison is what turns a curiosity into something meaningful, because it means the response is not about doors or excitement or novelty. It is about you specifically. The chemical underneath. That still leaves the deepest question. Why would a feeling of reunion turn into a tear at all? What is the actual bridge between an emotion in the brain and moisture in the eye? And this is where the study reaches its most quietly astonishing part. The researchers suspected a particular molecule was doing the work. It is called oxytocin, and you may have heard it described as the bonding hormone. It is the chemistry that surges between a mother and her newborn, between people who trust and love each other, and, as earlier research had already shown, between dogs and their humans when they simply look into each other's eyes. Oxytocin is, in a real sense, the chemistry of attachment. So they tested it directly. They applied a solution containing oxytocin to the surface of the dog's eyes, and then they measured the tears again. The tear volume rose. The bonding hormone on its own was enough to increase tearing. That closed the loop. The feeling of reunion floods a dog with oxytocin, and that same oxytocin appears to raise the tears. The emotion and the physical sign are chemically linked. Your dog's happiness at seeing you is not just written on their face in some poetic sense. It has a measurable chemical route from the heart of the feeling straight to the surface of the eye. Sit with how strange and beautiful that actually is. The same molecule that rises in a new mother the first time she holds her baby. The same molecule that moves between two people who trust each other completely. The same molecule that earlier studies found surging in both you and your dog when the two of you simply hold each other's gaze. That is the chemistry that appears to be lifting the tears in your dog's eyes when you come home. Your reunion is not running on some lesser, simpler, animal version of connection. It is running on the very same wiring that carries the deepest bonds we know. F-A. Word on what we are not saying. It is worth being honest and careful here, because the truth is remarkable enough without stretching it. This does not mean your dog is standing at the door consciously crying about how much they missed you, the way a person might tear up in an airport arrivals hall. We cannot climb inside a dog's head and know exactly what the experience feels like from the inside. What the measurements show is narrower and, in its own way, more solid than a story. A real, repeatable rise in tears, tied specifically to reunion with a bonded person, driven by the chemistry of attachment. It is not sentiment dressed up as science. It is the opposite. It is one of those rare cases where something people always felt in their gut turned out to hold up when someone finally put a number on it. Why this is bigger than a dog by a door. It is worth slowing down here, because it is easy to let this slide past as a sweet fact. This was the first time emotional tearing had been documented in a non-human animal in connection with a positive social bond. The thing we had quietly kept for ourselves, the idea that our tears of feeling were uniquely, exclusively human, had a crack in it. And the crack was your dog, standing by the front door, looking up at you. That does not mean your dog cries the way you do. Dogs do not sob. They do not weep down their faces in grief the way people can. What the study captured is narrower and, in a way, more remarkable for how ordinary it is, a genuine rise in tears tied to the emotion of being reunited with a loved one. A feeling, showing up in the body, right on schedule, in an animal that has spent tens of thousands of years learning to live alongside us. The part that closes the circle. The researchers did one more thing that turns this from a fact about dogs into a fact about the two of you together. They took photographs of dogs' faces, some with normal eyes and some with those slightly teary, glistening eyes, and they showed them to people. Then they asked how those people felt looking at each face. The teary-eyed dogs got the warmer response. People felt more drawn to them, more moved, more pulled toward wanting to care for them. And think about what that means when you put it beside everything else. When your dog's eyes shine at the sight of you, that look does something to you in return. It softens you. It reaches straight into the part of you that wants to protect them. So the tear is not only an expression of your dog's bond with you, it may be part of the machinery that deepens your bond with them, a small signal that quietly strengthens the loop of care running in both directions. That may be part of how dogs became dogs at all. Not just loyal, not just useful, but bonded to us through the very same emotional chemistry that binds humans to each other. A shared language written, of all places, in the wet shine of an eye. What to do with this tonight? You do not need a paper strip or a laboratory to sit with this. The next time you come home, before you reach for the light switch or drop your keys, give your dog those first few seconds. Get down a little. Look at their eyes while they look at yours. You may not see a tear roll down, and you are not meant to, but you will be watching the exact moment the research captured. The instant a feeling becomes visible in a body that cannot say a single word to you. For years, people who love dogs have insisted that the greeting at the door is real, that there is something true happening in it, and they were often told they were being sentimental. It turns out they were simply early. The feeling was always there. We just had not yet learned how to measure it. So the next time your dog rushes to meet you and their eyes catch the light, you can know it for what it is. Not your imagination, not a story you are telling yourself. A bond so real that it rises to the surface of their eyes every single day, just because you walked back through the door. If this changed the way you see that everyday moment, stay with us, because your dog is full of these quiet signals, and most of them go unnoticed for a whole lifetime. Subscribe, and we will keep decoding them together, one at a time. And tell us below, what does your dog do in those first few seconds when you come home? We read every single one.